MomoCon. It's Marley and Nick coming at you from New York City. Thank you to everybody who's joining us today. Very happy we could put on some programming for all of you in the midst of all this COVID craziness going on. So, like I said at the top, my name is Marley. I am the lead talent and programming manager for the channel Frederato Network. And I am joined with my very good friend.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nick Reed. I hope you're all doing okay, just because of everything that's going on right now. But we're gonna make it out of this okay. But anyway, I'm Nick Reed. I am. I used to work with Marley at Frederator. I was also a talent manager at Frederator, but now I have a job working with the team at Nickelodeon. In the digital sector of the company as their audience development specialist.
Yeah, so the idea for this panel kind of came about when Nick and I were just exchanging stories, I think, over time about how crazy it was getting to the point that we were at and realizing how different everyone's path to this trajectory was. And there's a lot of people that want to get involved in the digital media space, but they aren't sure how to go about it. So hopefully this discussion kind of makes things seem less scary to you and maybe can provide some guidance and advice for along the way. Later on, we'll definitely be taking questions from people who want, maybe advice on how to break in or other stuff. But Nick, let's start with you. How did you find yourself at the position you are currently
at? Sure. So it's very, very random happenstance, for sure. I mean, with you as well. Like, what did you go to school for?
I went to school for animation, and random happenstance will be a common theme throughout the night.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I went to school for theater. So I was a theater major, really loved performance entertainment. I loved performing. So that's why I did my theater major. I was in a bunch of different shows. Musicals were my favorite. And then I moved to New York City to give it a shot. You know what I'm saying? We were trying to pursue that whole dream there. And when I got to New York, I ended up interning in a bunch of different Broadway offices, because, I was new to New York City. It was really a great idea to get involved in the community that I wanted to be working in. And then when I was interning, I realized, oh my gosh, I really, really love how things are working behind the scenes. I love that we are like doing all these really interesting things with these huge Broadway shows and these huge actors. And at the time, all of those things were larger than life to me, coming from the Midwest. And just getting involved in all of those things was just so exciting to me. So I was like, okay, you know what? I can essentially perform at any point in time in my life. But right now, people are giving me opportunity to take part in this world that I'm in right now. So I worked even harder and did more internships within the Broadway marketing world in New York City, which is surprisingly small. So there's only a few places that you can go to. And then I just kind of worked in that world until I ended up working at a Broadway marketing agency that specialized in digital marketing. So I did an email marketing type job there just to get my feet wet and kind of learn how to work in an office environment and learn the politics of working in a professional world and everything like that. And then I was later pushed into a video production role, which was really exciting to me because I loved entertainment. Like I said before, when I was in acting school, I did a lot of video production there as well. So I was really excited to be working on a video team. And then life happened in that I was let go from my position at that Broadway marketing company. Yep. And it was a really crappy situation too, because when I first got the job, of course, I'm young, I'm excited. They made me sign a non-compete contract. And, you know, you should read your contracts, very important. And like I said before, the Broadway community is very, very small. There's only a few places that you can work. So I signed a non-compete contract. So that meant even though they were letting me go, I wasn't able to apply to jobs at any competing company within the Broadway world. Would that hold up in court? Who knows? But the community is so small, so no one wants to step on anyone else's toes. You might have to work with these people in other arenas, so you're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to hire this person on anyway. So I had to essentially let go of my Broadway dreams at the time and try to find something else. So I was unemployed for 8 months, trying to figure something out. And in that time, I spent a lot of time watching YouTube videos because you have time, right? It's kind of like how it is right now with what we're going through right now. You have more time, so you're just watching more content. You're watching more things on YouTube. You're watching things on Twitch or whatever it is. And I kind of got really into like what was going on online. So, you know, that's when I started watching channels like The Round Table. That's when I started watching like all those other like Steven Universe content creators, and then I became familiar with it. So I was down on my luck after 8 months, and I saw a post for a part-time job at Frederato, and I needed something, you know, at the time. And then I went into the interview, and I was surprised at how, when I answered the questions, how versed I was with what was going on in the world of content, just because I've had the time to really envelop myself in all of it. So I got the job at Frederato, and then worked it for 2 years, and just really, really got into understanding what the entire world of content creation is about, learned who the players are, learned about the community that's being developed around it. You know, places like MomoCon, where there's so many amazing, amazing people who have created careers online through creating content. And I just ended up loving it and working in it. And now I'm bringing all of those experiences to the team at Nickelodeon. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely, like I said at the top, random happenstance is a common theme. So in my case, I went to school in Philadelphia for media arts and animation with a specialization in traditional animation. And I made what I would later find out is a cardinal sin in the art and in like animation community, at least in the professional community, in that I went to school for animation on the northeast coast of the United States. And guess what studios are not in this part of the country? The animation studios. Yeah. A lot of the animation work done on this side of the country is motion graphics for advertising, stuff like that, and just stuff I was never interested in at all. And also stuff I quite frankly, didn't have the skill set for. So I was kind of lost for a while after school. I did a lot of odd jobs. I worked for the local library and stuff. At the time, I was also freelancing, and that was all right. But I ended up having one particular freelancing gig where the guy gypped me out of something like $1,500, which, you know, I guess in the grand scheme of things isn't a lot, but when you're fresh out of college and you're like basically living part-time paycheck to part-time paycheck, $1,500 might as well be like infinite money. I had animated an entire commercial for him, and he said it wasn't up to par, and then took my work and traced it himself and gave me like $600. So that was honestly probably, I think, the last time I like seriously animated. It was just such a bad experience that it had really burnt me on it. It had burned me on freelancing. So I stopped doing that. And I was just kind of doing these random part-time jobs. I was working like 2 or 3 of them at a time. And one day I had a friend who was signed up for the Frederator MCN and got me in touch with someone there. And at the time, I didn't understand the concept of an MCN. So I thought this person was like a hiring manager for a position there. And we got to talking, and he was like, hey, I don't think there's anything available right now, but stay in touch. So at the time I was still living in Philadelphia, I ended up having to stop doing that and move back home with my parents in upstate New York. Just it got too expensive. And I reached out to that person that I had spoken to at the time, and they were like, hey, we actually have a part-time position. It's remote, but you could do it. And that was my first taste of the digital media space. I think that was really the first time I realized the just how much content is on YouTube, because when I got my responsibilities, which involved like reaching out to YouTube channels or creators, I was like, how am I going to do this all day? And it's very easy to do, in fact. And so that part-time opportunity sadly had to end. And I was like once again lost. I ended up working back in Philadelphia at a graphic design firm. And I really, really hated that work. It wasn't design, like I wasn't using my artistic sensibilities. I was just kind of like slapping a logo on a pre-made template and moving along. So one day I was like, I had finally had it. That place didn't treat its employees great. And I just kind of like, it was the straw that broke the camel's back moment. And I reached out to someone who I knew was still at Frederator, our good friend Cade. And I was like, hey, Cade, I don't know if you remember me, but I worked on the MCN team in like a part-time capacity for remotely. Is there anything going on? Like, is there a part-time position? Is there an internship? I'll do something. I was very honest. I was like, I need to get out of the job that I'm at right now. And he had set me up with an interview with the current head of the network, my boss and your former boss, Kenny Ash. And I remember I left work early that day. I like faked being sick. I interviewed, I got the job right then and there. And then I kind of up and moved back to New York in 2 weeks. It was a really scary experience because I was giving up, a full-time job with health insurance and stuff like that for what was going to be a part-time opportunity starting out. But I had a good feeling I could turn it into something if I tackled the job the right way. And in my mind, I was like, all right, I don't have the money to move out to California and get like a studio animation job there right now. It's just unrealistic. How can I retool my skill set for this new position? And sure enough, I find that I'm going to be interacting with like a lot of the animators and stuff. So I spent a lot of time learning the YouTube stuff, but bringing my animation knowledge with me from the get-go. And I find that I've been able to like really talk to the creators and stuff on that level, and they respect that because now they're talking to someone who understands what they're going through, more or less, the trials and tribulations of creation. And I just kind of stuck it out and plowed ahead, and I've been there now for 2.5 years.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Something that's coming up between like what you're saying, what I'm saying, and how we both got into this world is that we kind of, I hate to say it, but like we like had one thing that we were going to do and ended up doing this other thing. And to bring it back to my theater roots, there's a quote from one of my favorite shows, Sunday in the Park with George, where they say, it's not that you do what you like, but as it is that you like what you do, So how does that manifest in what you've been doing in terms of your career and how you approach your job? Because you're not currently at least, animating things like you went to school for, but you
Yeah.
like the work that you're doing. So how do those things connect, and how do you kind of like, reckon with the fact that you're not doing what you went to school for, but I would think that you like the work that you're doing currently?
Yeah, definitely. I think a big part of it, for me, when I left school and was working those other jobs, something I found that I really, really missed was the communication with my peers on this art of animation that we all love.
Mhm.
And I get a lot of that in the job that I'm at now. A lot of the Channel Frederator Network's members are animators. And so I am talking character design with them. I am talking shop with them. We're talking about, Adobe's problems with Flash and stuff like that. The other part of it is animation is a very, very involved process. And I think in school, there's this overly romanticized idea that if you're not drawing frame by frame, if you're not necessarily, I guess, in the thick of it, like everybody, like the actual animators, you're not really a part of the process. And I think this job has really opened up my eyes to the fact that that's not true. The office manager is just as important as the animator, who is just as important as the background artist. And I find myself doing a lot of, I guess you could almost say, producer type work that I've kind of just discovered a passion for now. I still get to use all of my animation knowledge. Like, I think part of the reason that I'm so good at the job is that I've been in the thick of it and I have done it before. So I'm able to be sympathetic to the animators that do come to us and work with them to find creative solutions, because now I also have this business and YouTube knowledge that I've acquired as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the same for me, kind of taking your own experiences and applying it to this new role that you're in right now, because you can really do that, can't you? Like, especially for me, coming up as an actor of sorts, and then applying all my industry knowledge to
Mhm.
what we're currently doing with influencers, with people who are creators online, who are making a lot of stuff in this essentially new industry. One of the things that I kind of talk about when I refer to what goes on in this world is that it's kind of like the gold rush, because there's a lot of people who are doing it, and there's
Yeah.
like a majority of people who are like making a lot of money in it. And at the same time, a lot of people don't know about it, and they don't know how it works,
Yeah.
right? I know a lot of people who are just like, how do YouTubers make money? They don't
Yeah.
they don't know anything about AdSense. They don't know anything about like how they promote products in their videos and that they're paid for it. They don't know. They may understand like hashtag ad on Instagram, but that's like pretty much as far as the knowledge base goes when it comes to all of that. And the thing that excited me about working in this industry that's growing is that you have the opportunity to take part in something that is new, that is growing, that is only going to become bigger as time goes on. And it's not going anywhere. You
Yeah.
know what I
And
mean?
yeah, exactly. It feels like the Wild West in a lot of ways, or like another great time expansion time in like the country's history, where we're all excited about this one thing. Playing off of what you said about people who like maybe don't necessarily understand the space as much. A really exciting moment for me, and I'm sure for you, is when we went to VidCon last year, and it was a gathering of all of these people who either know a little or a lot about their own little corner of it, and all of us coming together and kind of that exchanging of information, and learning what they're talking about over at Snapchat or what they're doing over at Instagram, and really realizing like it's this big wide open space, but there's only so many of us, and we all kind of need to collaborate and talk and share ideas with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. The networking at VidCon, and mind you, we spent a lot of time in the industry section of VidCon, not necessarily in the community section where you had the bubblegum companies and things. But yeah, you're definitely right. We were really able to network with a lot of amazing people in the industry from all across the industry, people who have made careers specifically when it comes to media, and then also like big Hollywood studios that also have lives on the internet as well. We're all coming in together to kind of exchange knowledge. And the interesting thing about that whole experience was that there weren't a ton of people there. We've been to other conferences and where you can't really like get to know anyone. And this industry is massive for sure, but it's still growing to the point where I'm meeting people and having genuine connections with them at this place, because there are still so few people who are doing a lot of things in it, which is why it was also so exciting to get involved, because it's still relatively green in where it is currently. I was in a cab one time going from Brooklyn to Manhattan, and there was some woman from San Francisco that was in the cab with me. And then it was Uber. It was an Uber ride share thing back when people talked to each other, because it was like, oh my God, we're sharing a car. Well, let's talk to each other. Now no one talks to each other at all. But she was talking to me and she was asking me what I did, and I told her, and I was like, yeah, it's this like internet job. It's like very different. And then she said to me, wow, that's really great that you have that experience. Honestly, the thing about that is that there's not a lot of people that have that experience. So you can become an expert at it relatively quickly, and your skills are going to become in demand. And and then not a lot of people are going to be able to fill those roles,
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I got in at I think the right time to just kind of enter this world. I was, like I said, like not that far out of school, so like my brain was still kind of in that spongy material where I like wanted to learn and take things in. So I guess that can bring us to like our first point of advice, the importance of networking in this space, and how to maybe go about it the right way and the wrong way. So I guess like Nick was saying, the space is incredibly tiny, and so people know each other, people talk, and sometimes the industry has these insane ups and downs, layoffs and stuff like that. And I think the first piece of advice I would maybe give to people is to I think it can be very easy in this age of social media to blast off online when something bad happens to you or when work stuff happens. And you really need to temper that, because you never know who's going to be your next work reference, or who at the other job that you are applying for knows who at your current job, and stuff like that. Nick, what would you say to that?
Oh, I agree with it. I totally agree with it. I think about like where I'm at right now, and there's like a lot of people who I knew from Frederato that are currently there right now. And you think to yourself, what if I had pissed off all the people there? It would either be difficult to work with them, or you wouldn't have gotten a job in the first place. So you always want to make sure that you don't burn bridges wherever you go, and you act, you have to have a little grace about everything that happens, and understand that, every event is temporary, and you don't need to like go off online, because everything can be Googled. How are you going to lie when I got Wi-Fi? How are you going to lie when I have Wi-Fi? So, so you really have to really think about your career holistically, not just where you are right now, but where you want to be. And one thing to say with that, I would say you cannot be so rigid you can't be so rigid that you cannot see opportunities when they arise.
Yeah.
For example, with me, you have to really navigate your career. Oh my God, it's so crazy and it's so emotional because I could have stayed in the theater industry. I tried really hard to stay in the theater industry when I was unemployed for 8 months or however long it was. And I had to pivot because of, the opportunities and that non-compete contract that I signed. And I had an opportunity to get back into a theatrical role and not take the job at Frederato when I first got it. They were like both the same type of opportunities, and I was deciding which way to go. And the reason why I moved forward with Frederato was because I was like, I already had that experience with theater. I've already done that. I already know what that life is like. And I'm trying to become a great person holistically when it comes to my career. So let me try this on. Let me try this out and see how that feels. And then if it feels wrong, I can pivot again. So you want to have a path forward for sure. You want to know exactly where it is that you could go, but you also want to be flexible enough that when opportunities come to you, you're not so, headstrong saying, oh, I can't do that. That's not on the path.
Yeah.
Because in what world would because our jobs didn't exist when we were in college. Our jobs didn't exist when I first got to New York City, and then it came into being, and I had to essentially take a leap of faith, but not without any guidance. There are other signs that you can look at, how the company is doing, the placement of other people and where they're going after they leave that place. What type of work will you be doing? Who are you going to be connected with? What's your network going to be like when you're at those places? These are things that you have to think about. You can't necessarily think, I want to be a blank, so I have to get a blank job, because very few people get that job. But there is an opportunity for you to work in a world in which you're going to love the work that you're doing. You're going to love the people that you're working with. You're going to be working on things that you care about. And hopefully the paycheck is good too.
Yeah, I mean, if I was super rigid about things and dead set on being an animator, I wouldn't be here right now. But I realized that I needed to pivot, and I would be a lot closer to animation at this job than I would be working a bunch of part-time jobs or my crappy graphic design full-time job.
Yeah, and you have more experience too. If you were to go back to it, you now have the experience and know-how of what things are like from the top down, as opposed to something else.
Yeah. So, what would be I guess, your big piece of advice to someone that does need to pivot, but is kind of either too proud or too nervous to do so? Maybe they spent a lot of money on a college degree, and they're scared to leave this industry that they worked to get into. What would you say to those people?
Why don't you just put up a picture of me in college and say, what would you say to your former self? Like on RuPaul's Drag Race. The thing
that is also directed at me.
Yeah, exactly, right? What would I say to you? I mean, you have to, I already said you have to be flexible, but you really have to trust that you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because you have to be okay.
Yep.
You have to make a decision, and you have to trust that things are going to pan out, whatever the decision is, because you yourself are not going to allow yourself to become a puddle of mess. You're going to figure it out. You're going to figure out the things that you love about the job, and you're going to push forward in it. And if it also doesn't work out, you're going to know when you need to get out, and trust that instinct of yours as well. When you feel like you need to get out, then you should get out.
Yeah.
You should devise a plan. The plan may take a year to happen, but when you feel like you need to GTFO, GTFO. But when it comes to pivoting as a whole, especially when you're really headstrong, you did this one thing, and I feel like you can get that job if you really, really want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can have that job. If you really wanted to do this thing in animation, Marley, you could have done it. If I wanted to be an actor on Broadway, I could have done it. But at what cost?
Yeah.
Would I be happy with the cost? Would I feel satisfied with what it took? Would I be okay if it took years in order to accomplish that goal? If that's yes, then do it, and do it 100%. But if you are not going to be happy, if you're like, I could have been happy doing something else, if you're thinking to yourself, oh, here's an opportunity for me, because that's what happened to me. Here's an opportunity where someone is like, here, do you want to like try this life out?
Yeah.
And if you're at all curious about it, maybe you should think about it. And if you're like, oh my God, no, that is not me. That is not what I do. That is not something that I am passionate about. That's not something that I care about. Then don't freaking do it.
Yeah, I definitely think, yeah, if you find that you get offered something and you think about it more than once or twice, like your brain keeps going back to it, I would consider hopping in. My big piece of advice is also, when you're presented with that opportunity, think about how you can use the skill set that you have right now. And are you going to be happy using the skill set in that way? So, in my case, all right, cool. I'm not going to be animating, but I know that they have a lot of young animators that are in the network that maybe could use the advice from someone who just got out of animation college, or maybe that they're going to need someone that they can run ideas by. And, maybe I can use my skill set in a more mentorship role. And, I sat with that thought and, tried to determine if I would be happy with that. And I thought I would be. And, sure enough, I'm doing work that I really enjoy. My other piece of advice is, once you're in the company and you've got a feel for things, come up with a game plan for yourself. Come up with some professional goals that you think you could meet in your time.
Your job isn't done.
Exactly. I think that's another mistake a lot of people make, is they get into a position somewhere and then they think, okay, that's it. I only do this. That's it. But especially in the digital media space where things are constantly evolving week to week, sometimes day to day, you have to be able to think creatively about your position and change it up as needed.
And those kids, some of them are you, are brilliant. They're brilliant. They're so smart. Yeah. I'm trying to get myself a good job before they snatch mine away. Okay.
Like, I think when we were both at Frederator, my position right now is very different from what it was when I first started, and I shaped it into that.
Right.
Same thing with what you got hired for when you were here.
I think that's true for a lot of digital careers, just because the industry is changing all the time. Everyone has to have a TikTok strategy now, and we didn't have a TikTok app like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
You have to, and that's nice. You have to be flexible. You have to be able to take new challenges on and be okay with the changes.
Exactly.
So many. I wanted to point out, someone in the comments said, I feel like the connections and random chance opportunities are really lacking for someone like me. And to that, I say it's all about attitude, and two, everybody knows somebody.
Yeah.
Everybody knows somebody. And the more you can do to connect yourself and network with people, you have to know what you want, though. You have
Exactly.
to be able to look at yourself as if you are the product, and you have to be able to say, hey, I am Nick Reed, and I am a content strategist. Who are you, and what are you about? And you can't approach it in a way where you just want to get stuff out of people. You
Yeah.
really have to really just think about how you are just growing your network of people, because this may be someone that can help you out 2 years down the line. Or maybe you're going to help them out 2 years down the line, because they want to make those connections with you just as much as you need to make them with them. So then you can just gather those people up and then let them know, hey, this is what I'm about. And then someone's like, yo, I need a content strategist for my team. Do I know anyone? Oh, I do know one. Someone that I met at this conference a few years ago. You should be going on LinkedIn and connecting with people, not randomly, but trying to make genuine connections with people. That is what this is about.
Yeah, well, I mean, just to speak to that, like when I got hired at Frederator the second time, it was because I knew Cade and
Right.
he remembered me, and he got me in touch with Kenny and was like, hey, this dude knows this kind of work. I think you should interview him for the position. The other thing, speaking off of what you were saying, like knowing what you want and stuff like that, you also need to provide value to these companies. Like you need to realize that it's not enough to just want something. You have to be able to confidently like walk in there or walk up to that person and not so boastfully let them know like, hey, I am this person and this is why I want to be at your company, and this is why your company should want me there. I in my job interview, I very confidently brought up my animation knowledge. I was like, I can learn all of this YouTube stuff, but you're not going to learn how to be an animator. It's not going to happen. And I created value for myself in their eyes.
Right. Yeah. And one thing that we weren't able to talk too much about was about content creators and how they are making careers on the internet. And I know that was supposed to be a part of it. We create content. I wouldn't say that we make all of our money from making content on the internet. We have our podcast, Unsubbed Heroes, where you can listen to Marley and I talk about everything going on the web, the internet, and pop culture. You can tune in every Thursday, and we're available on all podcast apps. Definitely check us out. But what would you say advice for anyone who wants to become content creators for their careers? And then we'll take questions after that.
You just gotta suck it up and do it. I know there's a lot of apprehension, especially amongst creator types, to jump in. But you gotta just do it. Think of a concept that you like, something that you don't think other people are doing, but something that you think other people will like. And just throw it out there. Look for a platform that you think works for you. Maybe you want to be a speed artist, but you draw like cute smaller scale things that wouldn't really make for a 5-minute speed draw on YouTube. Try Instagram, experiment, try different platforms out, and see what works for you.
Yeah, and definitely if you don't love it, then your audience is going to know. So you have to love what you're doing as well, and just be consistent with it. I think consistency is the biggest thing, and then you will inevitably end up answering all the questions that you have about it.
Yeah. All right.
Let's take some cues.
All right. I'm gonna scroll on here through the chat here. All right. So this one is more so directed at the animation industry, but we can give it a shot. Question: if you have an idea for an animated series, should you go ahead and show it off online to the public, or wait and meet someone more professional, and experienced or renowned to get feedback? No, show it off. Get it out there. I can't tell you how many projects, not specifically catered to animation, but how many projects get funded or get off of the ground because of internet hype. In Frederator's own history, the gender bent episodes of Adventure Time got super popular because Natasha, who was a story artist on the show, was posting those gender bent stuff on her Twitter, her drawings of Fiona and Cake. And the response was so popular that they ended up deciding to do a bunch of actual episodes and a comic book spinoff about those characters. Most recently, I mean, the whole Critical Role animated series is getting picked up by Amazon Prime now because, you know, Matt Mercer and his team were brave enough to get on Twitch every night and tell this story. So if you've got something that you think would garner like praise and like the views of people, put it out there, support a community, and then go to those professionals in the industry and be like, listen, I have this thing that a lot of people really, really like, and I want it to get bigger, and I want you on board for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like that Billie Eilish song. Don't hide. Don't hide. Yeah. Definitely put yourself out there. Isn't there wasn't there a storyboard artist for Steven Universe that would post their art on their Tumblr page, and then, you know, they found her stuff and then she got hired like full time on the show?
I'm sure that has happened on lots of shows, especially like the recent crop of cartoons where like a lot of the showrunners are people our age who grew up with the internet, so to speak.
Right. I think you should also don't be afraid of like not putting things out that aren't like, oh, this isn't the best representation of my work. I think the more you produce content, the better you're going to get. And then everyone's going to have a huge understanding of your work because you're just creating more and more and more. And then you're just going to have a big library of things to look forward to. And then if you want to consolidate things into your best stuff separately, then you can do that. But everyone likes a process. We like seeing you grow.
Yeah.
Put it out there.
So thanks Bat Teeters asked, are there any upcoming platforms that can serve as an alternative to YouTube?
Oh, we were just talking about this on our podcast, Unsubbed Heroes. New episodes every Thursday. And the thing about YouTube is that it is so intricate. It's been around for 10 plus years. And it's so hard for other platforms to do what YouTube does and do it right. I think it's a good idea to kind of test out upcoming platforms to see if you have a voice on there. Is this something that you enjoy or want to use? You know, I mean, I think everyone was talking about TikTok last year. Like, I mean, if you follow like Gary Vee, he was telling everyone, oh my God, get on TikTok. It's going to be like the new Facebook. You need to do it. You need to do it, blah, blah, blah. Make sure you're there. And then everyone slowly got onto it. And now, you know, there are TikTok stars.
Yeah.
And is it easy? It's not as easy to become a TikTok star now because it's had a year of everyone doing the most on it. So are there any upcoming platforms? I would say just like keep a lookout for anything and seeing if you do have a voice on there. I know that Spotify is testing out video podcasts right now. And is Spotify going to be the next video platform? Who knows? Spotify has a lot of data that they have on the back end. They have a lot of user data that YouTube doesn't have, but also vice versa. But they're probably also like looking at different numbers. They're probably looking at different things when they are talking about content. So who knows if Spotify is going to be the next big platform, but it could be, you know?
Yeah, I think a big problem is that YouTube has kind of set the gold standard for what a video platform should be like. So any new ones that try to pop up, they need to be at least that standard, if not better. And that's a lot to ask for a company that is maybe just starting out or just starting this venture of their business. So, I don't think there's any upcoming ones that can serve as an alternative. I do think there are platforms, though, that serve different purposes in this digital entertainment space that YouTube doesn't necessarily fill. So, I mean, the obvious one is Twitch. There was a live streaming kind of void that Twitch then filled, and now YouTube is trying to react to them in terms of like bite-sized, like snackable content. You
mean a Quibi?
No, no, not a Quibi. TikTok popped up and filled that. So I don't think there's going to be YouTube alternatives, but I think that there will always be things popping up to fill spaces that maybe aren't a concern for YouTube at the moment.
Right. And maybe you will be the one to pitch it or create it, you know? I mean, I think everyone knew there was a need for a bona fide video app, and no one was really serving that. Instagram is mostly photos, and there wasn't, and then YouTube is long form video. So, and then Vine passed away. Really? So yeah, TikTok came into being and became so popular because there was need for it.
Yeah. So, my Rando Rose, I'm interested in storytelling animation. How would you suggest breaking into the world of content creation? I have stories to tell, but I'm unsure how to start. Well, wow. The $1 million question, I think, for every content creator at some point in their life. You gotta just do it. If it's a matter of resources, maybe you don't have Adobe Animate. Just draw some pictures and do things. Do storytime animation that way for a while. But in terms of being unsure how to start for all creators, I think the thing to do is just figure out what you want to do. It's not enough to just want to be a content creator. You need to have a concept that you're passionate about and that people are passionate about. So stop and really think about it before you start doing it. Write some things out, talk to friends and family and see what they think and take their criticisms to heart. And then, once you've done all that, if you feel confident in your idea, just start making stuff. Accept that it's not going to be the best at the start of the venture.
And that's the hardest part, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to accept, and I have an accountability buddy. And we talk about this every week, is being okay with everything not happening all at once.
Yeah.
You have to be okay with that.
Yeah, and you will get better over time. And just put your stuff out there and trust in the creative process. You will learn, you will get better, and hopefully succeed. So, Momo Leggett, any advice for someone who started on TikTok but wants to explore more?
Yeah. First of all, how was it? Was TikTok successful for you? What things were you able to learn about your time on TikTok that you can now move into other things? Were you really successful at doing skits? Were you really successful at doing really cool paintings or drawings or anything like that? Kind of look at what you're successful at and seeing how you can build out beyond that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. So if you're doing some stuff on TikTok, will that stuff fit on the YouTube platform? And how are you going to execute that? Maybe you're a photographer on TikTok and you can put that stuff onto Instagram. It's really like what Marley was saying before, is finding out what your needs are and which one of those platforms kind of satisfy those needs. And when it comes to building an audience there, I always think there's an audience for everything and everyone. You just need to be able to find those people and then let them know that you're there. And then after you find those people, you have to build trust with them. So they have to know you're going to have a new episode of Unsubbed Heroes every Thursday. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the other thing is, really study the platform that you want to move over to, and don't just copy and paste what you're doing on the other one to the next one, because they don't all work the same. I think we saw this happen when Vine got shut down. There were a lot of Viners that moved over to YouTube and were just posting, their quick little videos, and it didn't work out the same way. And the Vine stars that did continue to succeed on YouTube adapted to the platform. So they started doing longer form content and interacting with their communities in different ways, because community engagement on YouTube is different from how it was on Vine. So really take the time to learn these platforms, pick the one that works best for you, and make sure that you're playing by their rules, at least for the time being. What's the old saying? You have to learn the rules to break them, or something like that.
There you go.
So
the last question is just curious, but do you prefer a panel like this in comparison to being in a crowd? I mean, I'm a theater kid. I love an audience. You know what I mean? I don't know how many of you are. I miss your energy and your faces and your voices and your laughter. Are you laughing? I hope you're laughing and having a good time. So, but this will do.
Yeah. I definitely prefer doing an in-person panel. I love the big bombastic nature, like Nick was saying, the laughing and clapping and stuff like that. And it's just really great to meet people and talk to you guys face to face, and stuff like that. So I miss that human connection, but I'm very happy that we were able to throw something together for the digital event, and hopefully distract you guys from the world for a little while.
Yeah, and we'll get back into it. It's like I was saying before, things will get better because they have to, and just trust that.
Crawling in my sink says, can confirm I did laugh. I did have a good time.
Yay! Yeah, happy to hear it. Crawling in the sink. That's awesome. Where can the people find you, Marley?
We're syncing into podcast mode. I am on Twitter and Instagram. I am Rebellious Ewok. No underscores or no spaces. If you want to follow channel Frederator Network, we are on Twitter, channel Frednet. Same thing for Instagram. So we're always posting our creators. I'm also going to be hosting some other MomoCon programming this weekend. So if you want to see our schedule, you can look there.
And I can be found on Instagram and Twitter at Nick Reidtime. That's NickReidtime. You can also follow our podcast, Unsubbed Heroes, at Unsubbed Heroes on Instagram and Twitter, or you can go to unsubbedheroes.com or unsubbedpodcast.com. Leave us a message on our website. You can also leave a comment on Apple Podcasts and rate us as well. We would love that if you do take a chance and listen to an episode.
Yeah. I think that's everything on our end. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for watching. And
we'll see you on the net.
It's a bit from the show.